Hi, it's Paul Rainbow here from InterAcct Software. Today we're going to have a look at the search and replace command. Generally gets used for doing price updates for your products, but it can be used anywhere in the system. It's just a particular function that is performed in the database itself. So let's try to do a price update. We'll go to the products and materials button here, and we're just going to have a look at the product groups that we've got in the system. So what we're going to do is going to have a look at the stock groups in this system. Quite a few of them, but let's just look at bed-bath, for example. And there's probably a number of products underneath there. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a search and replace, but I'm not going to do it here. This is an easy place. You could do it if you wanted to, but what I'm going to do is make it a little bit more challenging. Is I'm going to grab that group code and I'm going to come back to my product items database, number 4 on my menu here. Okay, so if you come into there, you'll get a search. Now this search is a search for the entire database. So what we're going to do here is we're going to come down to the search and we're going to type in bed, bath. Okay, so we get the same sort of list up as we had before, but we've done a search to get to this point. That's why I call it a search and replace type command. So then we go to record and replace. And you can see the buy costs here are actually the same as my list price here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 20% on top of these list prices that we've got here. But it might be that you're wanting to update the cost prices with one percentage and the list price with a different percentage, or put them both up at the same value. Now, it's asking here which records do we want to replace, and because we've already done a search, we've already filtered to these 16 records, so all records are just those 16 records. So I'm just going to push OK here. Okay, and then it's going to ask us which field do we want to replace. So I'm wanting to replace my list price. You can still see it on the screen there, and these are in order of the fields that are in the database entirely. So they're not just the ones that are listed, they're all the fields in this particular table entirely. So you can scroll down. It's probably the quickest way to see it, and there it is there. PRC is the field code and list price is the field. So what the step 2 is, so step 1 is to select the field. So step 2 is to change from. So potentially you could say, I only want to change those ones that are $249, for example. Unlikely you're going to use that for this scenario. Second bit is you're going to change to what value. So sometimes you can put a fixed value. You could just say, let's make them all $100, for example, and just put in 100 here. And then that will change all the prices just to 100. But if we start putting brackets around brackets, we could create a formula. So you can see here an example, ABC times or star 1.1. So this is actually going to multiply the ABC value by 10%. So if we want to do that for our price field, but we're going to make it 20%, we're going to do PRC, which is the field code that is of that particular field, times by 1.2. Now, potentially, we could have used another field. It doesn't have to be the same field. We could have used, say, for instance, the cost price times by 1.2. It doesn't matter. It's at the end of the day, it's going to do that formula for you. So there's one more thing you can do if you like with this function, is you can do rounding the results. So you can make it so, for instance, between when there's a value between a certain value, you can round it to the nearest, whatever it might be. So there's lots of options here. 1 cent is the lowest, and then you can go up from there. So what the idea is that you could put in here that you could say, okay, if it's between, let's do something like this. So if it's between this and 200 and, so let's make it 250. So there's only a few that match that criteria. Because we're going to round to the nearest 2 cents, probably a little bit higher than that. Let's round to the nearest, if it's lower than that, let's round to the nearest 25. And then when it's higher than that, round to the nearest 50, for example. Probably not a great example because it's only 20%. It's probably not going to even hit those marks, but let's just leave it in there like that. Well, let's make it 25 or make it 27. Make it even a bit more possible that we're going to get down to those cents. You can put in any number you like there. So that's the sort of rounding. You could for instance put another value here to say, okay, when it's over 500, then we're going to round to the nearest dollar, for example. Okay, so you can do round up and down, which is the default, or round up only, or round down only. Those are the sort of things you can add in there. Okay, so once you're happy with that, you've selected the field that you're going to change. You're normally ignoring step 2 because you're going to be doing all the fields that are in your range. Step 3 is really the formula. You could even say, you know, plus $20 if you wanted to do that as well. It's just a formula there. You can use this option here. I won't go into that in this video, but you can use that as a wizard to create a formula. But this is the norm, and that's the suggestion here with that number 2 there. And there's rounding. So let's just push OK here, and that should go through and start replacing those values. As you can see there's one that's 50 cents, nearest 50, nearest 50. So there was a couple that got down to those sort of rounding numbers. So you can see that it's moved up from that by 27%, you know, if that's what you wanted to do. So again, if you're wanting to, for instance, change the buy cost with the same calculation, you just run that same function again. So we're looking for buy cost, but just scroll down. It should be closest to the top here. There it is there, buy cost. And we do the same sort of thing. So there's the field code SBBP. So I want to just multiply that out by 27%. Now I'm not going to bother with rounding for this one. I'm just going to leave it as is, and we'll then be able to see the difference. So just push OK. Okay. So you can see these are my buy costs, and they're my list price. Okay, so that's really all I wanted to show you. So again, we've just come in here, we've done a search, we've then replaced those values using the replace command and with a formula. All right, have a great day. Bye.